Boys and gents, welcome to UX, and this is what is Fallout New Vegas' unemployment rate? This is by the channel called Any Austin, not some Austin or specific Austin, Any Austin. Yeah, this channel has nearly 1 million subscriber. Now I'm guessing because of the Fallout TV show trailer that I watched, YouTube suddenly like, you know what? Here's a gem for you. Now anything Fallout New Vegas, I'm all for it. But I don't know what this is gonna be about. So is he gonna like go about like this is so good about when it comes to Bethesda games, or the BGS or BGS type games where there are like economies apparently, trading shops and like this livable, breathable, places, right? Like how when you see something like Avowed or something where everything's static, while BGS games are like they have real schedules, real thing. These are small things, but it's so profound that makes the game feel alive. Skyrim and everything, right? So I guess he's gonna go in Fallout New Vegas like Prim, obviously Strip, every other place, right? Even the even the Boulder, why not there as well? There are traders everywhere, so he's gonna go everywhere and Mojave Outpost and see how the thing is working, how the economy is working. I'm not gonna lie, this is an awesome, awesome concept. He should do, I think, Elder Scrolls one because that's even better, like Oblivion, Skyrim. Damn, that's what this one.
Can you have a functioning economy if the only employers in your city are casinos? I sure hope so, because that's what they're trying to do in the city of New Vegas from the hit 2010 video game Fallout New Vegas, and I want to know how it's working. I want to know the unemployment rate. I want to know what kinds of jobs people are doing. I want to know if the casinos have enough security guards to overthrow the local government, and much more. To
Atomic Wrangler.
Figure all of this out, we're going to have to do something called a direct survey, which is where I walk around and catalog every single NPC, including the ones with no names, to figure out if they live here, if they're working, who they work for, and what they actually do. Then I'm going to put all of that data into the ugliest spreadsheet you've ever seen, analyze it, and try to figure out how the local economy of New Vegas is doing. We're going to start our survey all the way at the north gate of New Vegas, which is the main entrance to the city, and the first thing that I saw up there was this: 5 robot police officers watching my every move. Now these robots are technically working.
Also, he's just gonna do the Strip. Wait a minute, Strip alone is in the New Vegas. It's just the place that Mr. House controls and more like conserved from the nuclear apocalypse somewhat. Outside things are still Vegas, right? Like Freeside and everything, but it's not just it's not controlled by Mr. House, I guess.
But we're not going to account for them in the actual unemployment survey because they aren't sentient beings. What we will do is mark them down as employed robots and then make a note of just how many of them there are, which is going to be helpful in determining whether or not New Vegas is a police state. Once we get inside the city itself, we see a little bit of employment on the street, including these dancers doing promotional work for a casino, a stand-up comedian telling jokes on the street, this guy selling weapons for you to smuggle into the casino, and then this lady selling snacks and drinks on the side of the road. It's just like real Vegas. I've never been. You also might notice a lot of these army people walking around, sometimes stumbling around. These people are technically employed, right? Because they're enlisted by the government of the New California Republic, but none of them actually live here. New Vegas is its own autonomous city, and these soldiers all live in an embassy on the south side of town, meaning that they're all just deployed to New Vegas temporarily rather.
I think it's implied that most of them are visiting there and not living directly at embassies. Some of them are. It's implied because of embassy, like they are there, they have access.
Than actually being permanent residents. If you don't know anything about New Vegas lore, don't worry about it. It's not going to be important for this video. Just know that these people are basically tourists rather than residents. There are also a ton more police robots around, 28 across the city in total, depending on how exactly you count it. Not to get ahead of myself, but if you included these robots in the population count, they would make up nearly a quarter of the city's total residents. Imagine if a quarter of real Las Vegas residents were robots with rocket launchers. That would be, I believe, 600 500,000 robots with rocket
Damn.
launchers, which would be enough to have one on every single street corner in the entirety of real Las Vegas, which I think kind of answers our question about New Vegas being a police state. But what about the economy? That's the important thing, is the economy. Since there isn't much employment outside on the streets, the real work that we have to do is going inside. There are 6 buildings we need to go in, including 4 massive casinos, a hotel, and then a warehouse. And then there are 2 buildings that are controlled by the new California Republic that we can just completely ignore. Now, since the casinos are going to take me literal hours to go through, we're going to start with the 2 smaller buildings. But before we do that, we have to talk about underpants. You guys want to guess what kind of underpants?
Wait a minute. Yeah, aren't soldiers employed as well? Don't they get money? I mean, they have to live, they have to eat, they have family. I'm pretty sure like soldiers have wages. Like even though it's their duty, they're also technically employed, aren't they? Like I don't know.
I'm wearing right now? You probably already know. Me,
Hey, go to original video page, link from there, support this channel. So far, this is my type of video, so I love it already. I just noticed a pin thing that he has in the hair. Yeah.
that's right, MeUndies.com/AnyAustin, promo code AnyAustin for up to 50% off. I'm reading it off of a thing. But come on, that's part of the gig. MeUndies, comfort that's made for summer. Thankfully, the comfort of MeUndies does not change once summertime is over. I know that that slogan makes it sound like it does, but it doesn't. Actually, they're comfortable year round. All right, back to the video.
Are you
So
doing
the
it?
2 smaller buildings that are worth looking at here are the warehouse and the hotel. Let's start with the warehouse.
Michelangelo.
There are 3 people in the warehouse. There's a guy named Mike, there's a girl named Kate, and there's a person named Assistant. Mike works as an artist, and he actually made all of the signs that we see around the city to promote the casinos. And then Kate and the assistant are both people who also help out
It's logistically, when you think about it, how the fuck is that the case? But okay.
in the shop. Congratulations on your employment, everybody. Hopefully you're having a great time.
Oh, I can't feel the warmth anymore.
The other building is a hotel, which surprisingly only has
Dystopia.
1 employee, Sarah. Sarah works the front desk and the gift shop. I guess she cleans
Hey,
all the
Sarah.
rooms and does everything else. Thank you for your
But I haven't played New Vegas in a like decent enough times. Every time I see this, like I'm just getting giddy. Like, oh, I don't know this.
employment, Sarah.
It's just that I really like it here.
Now, aside from the 10 people that we've talked about so far, every other person in New Vegas works for one of the 3 casinos on the Strip. If you've played New Vegas, you might be asking yourself, isn't there a 4th casino? Yes, there is, but there's nobody in it. Not a single person, not even an old,
one.
decrepit man in a vat of liquid. So we can ignore the 4th casino.
Used to be
the 3
there.
casinos we have to look at are called the Tops, Gomorrah, and the Ultralux. And it turns out
Ultralux.
that the basic structure of all 3 is pretty
Perfectly normal casino, nothing shady going on there. You should definitely trust people that'll. If you never play New Vegas, trust it. These are the most paragon good people there.
similar. They've got a receptionist, they've got a bunch of security, there are card dealers, chip dealers, bartenders, and entertainment of some kind. And then each casino is also owned by a particular group or family, and then some of them might have unique positions like cult leaders or spiritual leaders or line cooks. But by and large, if you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all, which is great. It makes my survey easier. In total, the Tops employs 28 people, the Ultralux employs 17, and Gomorrah employs a whopping 35
There you
people.
go.
Now, despite that, the Tops, rather than Gomorrah, has the most security guards in total, but Gomorrah has by far the most entertainers, which makes sense since they are as much of a strip club as they are a casino. Most of the
I think you're probably counting Benny's guards as well there at the Tops. I don't know.
staff in the casinos is unnamed, but there are a few named NPCs as well, mostly when it comes to the owners and operators. A guy named Swank runs the Tops, and this lady named Marjorie seems to run the Ultralux. I couldn't figure out who runs Gomorrah. I looked in every single room, and there wasn't anybody who said they were the owner, so oh well, I guess. And then there are a few other named NPCs, but a lot of those folks, like Heck Gunderson here, these people are in from out of town, and you'll find if you talk to most of those named NPCs, a lot of them are visiting.
There's no reason for there's no important reason he's there. He's just there to have fun. That's why he's there. No other reason.
From somewhere else, and they say as much.
They want to do business with me, they got to play by my rules.
Now, I fully admit that we probably missed 1 or 2 people, but unfortunately, with recent federal budget cuts to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and a new executive disinterest in good data, they've stopped allowing us to pick locks and a new
Emerson considers long-time critic to lead Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, EJ and Tony Chief economist, the Conservative Heritage Foundation, among others, to head job. I mean, What could go wrong?
Executive disinterest in good data, they've stopped allowing us to pick locks and trespass like we used to do for our unemployment surveys because they can't afford the bail money. Take it up with the voters. With the casinos done, that makes 117 people here in New Vegas, which is easily the biggest economy we've seen in any Bethesda game, but we aren't done yet, not even close. There's actually a whole population.
I mean, it's Obsidian was involved, but obviously at the core of it was Bethesda. I think people are mistaken when it comes to New Vegas. Like, they think BGS had no hand in it. That's not true. They were looming overhead with the lore and everything. They didn't want Obsidian to go over too much because in the end it was BGS's lore now. They can't fuck that up. So there was a lot. They were like looming overhead. But yeah, it's made by Obsidian. So there's a lot of details that Obsidian made. And I'm pretty sure that like core Obsidian people are kinda still at the Obsidian. But a lot of people who were part of New Vegas no longer there, which is like, okay.
Of people here that we haven't even touched. It's no surprise to anyone that New Vegas would attract a lot of tourists, a lot of people who are, down but don't actually live here. And for a lot of these folks, it's pretty easy to tell because you can just ask them, like I said.
Darn far it is, our ranch.
But there are a lot of them that you can't ask. A lot. Altogether, there are 80 additional NPCs in New Vegas that are named.
I mean, go in real life and ask these people. Go to Las Vegas and ask the people about this shit and they'll just punch you in the face. Yeah, so this is kind of realistic.
One of two things. 23 of them are named Traveler, and 57 of them are named Gambler. And we need to figure out if these people are locals, tourists, or a mix of both. Now, I feel like the Travelers are obviously tourists. The name just, makes that very clear. So the big question is Gamblers. Is there any evidence that the Gamblers aren't from New Vegas? I spent ages going back and forth between the casinos, following these people around, repeatedly listening to their voice lines for any clues about what separated these two groups. But the things they said were always kind of vague. Some of them sounded more local.
I hope you're doing well, friend.
But others sounded more
I love the music. I think these games are like kind of stuck in a time loop. So unless certain events happen, the time won't progress. So gamblers are probably just, the name says, that like they might be frequent travelers. So that even though they are travelers, they're just there gambling away their money or whatever. Because business make them come there, whatever. So even if they don't live there, they might just stay there. Before, I don't know, before time progresses. I don't know, certain events happen and different people come to New Vegas and Strip, acknowledges a lot of things that are happening, the actual things that are happening, you did or whatever. That was awesome though.
touristy.
I hear the Securitrons are tougher since their faces changed.
Yeah, there you
So
go. That's
instead,
the one.
I started following them up to their rooms where they were staying and seeing what types of places each group hung out in. And that's when I started to notice some interesting patterns. The first thing I noticed was that travelers never gamble. If somebody is gambling, they are called gamblers. Now, what do you think the odds are that none of the gamblers are tourists? I'd say 0%, right? Which means that it's possible that gamblers are tourists who are here to gamble, and travelers are tourists who are here to sightsee and eat food and so on.
I mean, economy-wise, it doesn't make sense if they are residents of there. Like, what are they working at? They can't be working in the casino and then gamble away the money. That's weird cycle. How does that work? And there is no other job to be had, so they must be travelers. I don't know.
I'm not really gambling.
You can even find gamblers and travelers staying in the same hotel rooms. To me, this is pretty clear evidence that the titles indicate what the person is here for rather than indicating where they come from. And as a result of that, I'm going to assume that all of these people are in fact tourists. This means that of the roughly 200 people in the New Vegas Strip at any given time, about 40% of them are tourists, and that's not even including all of the soldiers stationed here. If you include the soldiers as well, that number swells to nearly 55%, which is funny because the real Las Vegas Strip on your average day is apparently also made up of about 55% tourists. I'm sure that wasn't intentional on the part of Obsidian, but it's definitely interesting to realize how close they got.
Ah, come on. It must have been. Obsidian can't be that anal. Like, yeah. The old Republic and all the game, like, details or some, like, yeah, I see that. I see Obsidian doing that.
Just by guessing. All right, we have finally finished
I love
surveying
that, man. I
every
love that
single
detail.
person in New Vegas. Over 200 individual NPCs. And guess what? Every single person that can have a job here does have a job here. New Vegas has an unemployment rate of 0%. Wow. Incredible. Here's the thing. That wasn't really New Vegas. I mean, it was. Like, technically, that is the section of the map that Dr. House, turned into a post-apocalyptic gambling paradise. But surveying only this portion doesn't actually capture the economic situation of the area, and it doesn't really show how the local economy is doing.
Yeah. It's Strip. We just covered Strip.
Because just like in real Vegas, most of the people don't actually live on the Vegas
British Strip is supposed to be this road, right? Like Las Vegas Strip, they talk about this road, and that's a road that's circling there. So it's supposed to be this road that's supposed to be the Strip. Is that what the case is?
Strip. They live in the suburbs, right? And in this case, the suburbs is a whole other town called Freeside. Anyone in the mood for another direct survey? Unlike the New Vegas Strip, Freeside is actually kind of a real place. You've got stores and bars and a casino and
Wouldn't the suburbs be like... Oh, wait a minute. That wouldn't be suburbs. Like, that's really distant apart, the towns. What would be the suburbs here? Like, there's many places around like that, right? Like, yeah. Freeside is just like place that's like kind of not controlled by Mr. House, I think.
doctors and gangs and even children. I know that it's technically
Gang.
more like run down than New Vegas, but in terms of like community, I feel like this is easily the more desirable place to live. Just like every city in this game, there isn't really a municipal government, but there is a pretty large gang called the Kings who all dress up like Elvis for some reason. And they do provide security, and they control the local water supply, and they have secret sex rooms in their headquarters, which is basically like any municipal local government, you know? At least based on my
I mean, yeah. New Orleans SNWB leaders respond to legal sex room. I mean, that's just normal. Like, come on.
experience here in New Orleans. If we consider all of the gang members
And it's New Orleans. Come on. Yeah, okay. The Kings thing is such a like a. Think about it. Like years from now, when nuclear apocalypse happen, what are the key things that people just stand out amongst all the pop culture? Because people are not going to think about top 1,000. They're probably going to think about top 3 or something that's really pop out. Something like Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley. So they're impersonating and being Elvis Presley because that was so cool to them of the way back when. It just makes sense.
members employed, which I do, that gives us 14 people employed plus this groupie. I'm not sure if I count this groupie as employed because it specifically says groupie rather than hooker, which is what most of the sex workers in this game are called. That said, we only consider people unemployed if they don't have a job but they need a job. And she clearly doesn't need a job. She's doing just fine. Part of the community, right? So she is not applicable. There's a bar in
All of this, is that how it works? Like a society might have only few people working, but other people might be related to those people, and those people might be so rich and they don't need a job, so that doesn't count as unemployed. Isn't this more like scientific than that? Like just like, oh, how many people are employed and not? Who can be employed? Like employment range, like 18 to 60 years old or whatever. How many of they're employed? How many they're not? Like how do you count who needs a job and who don't? How do you count that?
in a casino just down the road from the King's headquarters with plenty of folks working as well, including bartenders, a chip cashier, dealers, and entertainers. They've even got a crier, which is somebody who stands outside and tries to get people to come into a business, like those people who spin the signs at Little Caesars. Out on the streets, you'll actually find children playing, which is a nice change of pace,
With
as
a
well as a
very
ghoul
good weapon.
named Rotface. At first,
It's not a weapon, but it's a pointer, whatever.
I thought Rotface was unemployed because when I first walked up to him, he just asked me for money.
Got a cap for me?
But then I realized that every time I gave him money, he would give me information, which is absolutely a valid job. Thank you for your employment, Rotface. Inside this store, you'll find two employed people named Ralph and Mick, both of whom will
Is it a valid job for? Isn't that like a contractor type of situation? What if somebody doesn't come along? Requires information. Wouldn't go starve? Like, isn't employment means this like a fixed job there? I don't know.
sell you supplies, and then back outside is a full-on proper food vendor named Gennaro, or possibly Gennaro. The last place that we have to look in Freeside is the Old
My
Mormon
man.
Fort, which is a sort of charity health clinic that's full of employed people. You've got 5 security guards, 2 unnamed doctors, and several named characters like Julie Farkas here, who all work to provide free healthcare to the people in and around New Vegas. They've even got a couple of those travelers gambler and gamblers in their beds, which implies that even the rundown suburb of Freeside gets tourists now and again. Or I guess maybe it implies that there's no doctors in New Vegas, so that if you get sick, you have to come here, but whatever. I believe in Mr. House. The one exception to all of this is a fellow named Wayne. Wayne is what you would call a scavenger, where he goes around collecting scrap and selling it to local merchants in exchange for money that he can use to gamble. I went back and forth on whether or not to count Wayne as employed, because technically he is gathering and reselling things for money, which is basically what, Walmart does. But in real life, when we meet people who are doing this, we kind of stigmatize them and think of them as unemployed or undesirable. But by our definition, Wayne probably does count as employed. He's doing
You just saw a beggar who gives you information that might not even be information or some bullshit as a properly employed, but this guy's not employed? I mean, come on, what are you talking about?
doing something in order to make money, in order to take care of himself, which is what a job is. That's what I'm doing right now. So, Wayne, thank you for your employment. Which means that in total, Freeside has a population of 49 people and an unemployment rate of 0%. Okay, this is weird. Now, full disclosure, there are technically a few more settlements sort of nearby to New Vegas that we are not including in this video. There's a large military fort with a sharecropper farm here. There's a whole other town a little ways away to the west called West Side. And there are a few random little shops and houses to the east. But the purpose of our survey...
Caravan Company. What the fuck? Caravan Company, West Side. West Side is awesome. Too much detail there. I'm pretty sure West Side is one of those places, if you don't play properly detailed, some people even lose it. Because the way the strip is... Right, you need to go from Northgate to even more north to just access North Strip Square. Wait a minute, what is it, like North Vegas Square or something, which is like awesome. There's like much missions there, and from there you can go to a factory, tool factory. From there you can this is like whole thing. Now obviously if you play it in detail, missions takes you there, quest takes you there, but if you don't, you can just miss West Side completely, right? So yeah, this like West Side. Thorn. What about Thorn? The fighting happens. Thorn, isn't that employment? Why didn't you go to Thorn?
Today is to figure out how the core of New Vegas itself is doing and if it's really the paradise that it seems. All of these other places are clearly distinct settlements, and in some cases they aren't even really settlements at all, so including them would both take way too long and dilute the data. But regardless, both New Vegas and Freeside have 0% unemployment. So what does that mean? Does that mean that they're doing really well and that the economy's great and everyone's happy? Yes. No, it doesn't. No. First of all, even if Fallout was a regular old formalized capitalist economy like we have in most of the Western world today, 0% unemployment isn't actually desirable because super low unemployment...
NCR probably is, but Legion isn't. That's the struggle of New Vegas. See, that's New Vegas was great. There's a political ideologies for classing as well. What is what? Like, should you go with NCR but taxation and too much like bureaucracy? Legion, slavery, or free New Vegas, which has its problem with its own, like probably dictatorship or some kind. Or Mr. House, fuck it, why not? This is why New Vegas was so awesome. You really need, as a kid, you're thinking about this political shit.
Employment usually leads to higher inflation and labor shortages. We're not going to get into macroecon today, but you can just go ahead and Google
that's so
that if
true.
you want. But the
0% employment, I think, usually implies that there is shortage of labor. That's why it's bad. Now, if it's not shortage of labor and somehow 0%, like that's like threading the needle. Nothing can be that accurate. So when it's 0% employment, just means it's minus, which means there is a higher demand of employment, but people are not there. Which is like, higher wages, inflation.
bigger issue here is that Fallout isn't a formalized capitalist economy, which means that measuring the unemployment rate is basically useless. Let me back up a little bit. We, meaning the United States of America, created the formal unemployment measurement in the 1930s and 40s in response to the Great Depression, because this really smart guy who also had polio rightfully understood that in order to do anything to help his fellow citizens, he first needed good data. Incredibly based perspective to have. So he helped put together a big giant one-time survey of the entire country in order to get a sense of how bad the economic situation was and to start to come up with a plan for how to deal with it. A direct survey, you might say. Now that survey that they did, it was a one-time survey, but it formed the basis of what eventually became the unemployment surveys done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a crucial tool for helping mitigate economic disasters to this day. The point is that understanding who has a job and who doesn't have a job is a useful piece of information for understanding understanding the well-being of your citizens. It's not a catch-all. It has plenty of flaws. Not everyone with a job is doing great. We've seen that plenty of times.
Oh, I can't feel the warmth anymore.
But it is a high-quality
I mean, it's somewhat of a dystopian world, but that comes with the thing, right? That basically, like everyone, like, yeah, 0% employment would basically do that because there's a shortage of labor. So whoever's doing it probably getting paid a lot, but also doing a lot of work. So would be depressed as fuck.
piece of information from which you can start to piece together the reality. In Fallout, that's just not the case. The unemployment rate is a thing that's specifically helpful for the circumstance that we are in, which is a particular type of economy, right? Everyone in New Vegas has a job, and it sucks shit to live in New Vegas. It's really bad. So being able to say New Vegas has a 0% unemployment rate isn't helpful for understanding how things are going, and that's something that we constantly forget. Statistics are not norm.
I mean, this is the best place in the entire New Vegas. Why? Because this is Fallout. Death claws are eating people. Literally, that's part of it. That's in the game. Like, they're dead bodies and everywhere. There's a whole place, but death claws are just covered everything up. NCR fucked up with the blowing up mines and shit. So, yeah, there's literally like prisoners on loose that are killing people and like invading town. That's literally start of the game. This is under those robots, under protection of Mr. House. It could be depressive, but this is paradise compared to the alternative. So this 0% employment rate is kind of like the paradise there can be. Everything else is shit. You will die. Survival is like such a big question mark. Most people don't survive. Legion is coming. It will enslave you. Are you kidding me? Colorado River, get the fuck out. Like, you're a slave now. Yeah, so this is like better than it. That's why those troops are drunk there and having fun there. Because everywhere else is shit. In the game, they constantly say, why couldn't I be stationed at the strip? Troops are saying that in NCR.
Normatively loaded. They're only as useful as the quality of the understanding that you have of their context. I sound like a social studies teacher. Now, the obvious question that I have then becomes this. If the unemployment rate's not helpful for determining how good things are in New Vegas, what would be helpful? If you were the president of New Vegas and if you had polio, what kind of data would you want to gather in order to understand how how life was going for your citizens? Maybe you'd want to do a survey about how each area provides for its own safety in order to understand how you might incentivize.
Basically, Fallout 4. What do? I don't know, put millions to settlements and put missile launchers everywhere as a defense, and yet raiders are still gonna attack and destroy a settlement somehow. So I don't know, what would you do? Just don't be the leader, I guess. Be a lone wanderer. That's what you can do.
Cooperation to create stability, or maybe a survey about like how much downtime the different people in the different regions have, so that then you can pinpoint which places need the most help, providing for their own basic survival, which would then let you allocate resources more effectively, which is in theory should be the point of an unemployment survey also. But that's the question, right? What would a helpful survey of the citizens of New Vegas actually look like? If you have any ideas for what that survey might be, post them down in the comments. Maybe we can start a whole new series of videos about, we could call it what FDR would do if he was in charge of video games. That'd be pretty cool.
Technically, the game's main story makes you yes man, whatever, leader, right? Independence route. So yeah, you kind of become that apparently.
I'm not FDR. I'm Annie Austin, and thanks for watching.
Love it, man. Annie Austin. Do GTA 5 Street Sense comply with California? What? He has videos like this? I love this. Finding a job in Fallout 3's post-apocalypse. What? He did that? How many did he else do? Did he do Elder Scrolls? Oh my god, how did I miss this channel? How did YouTube hide this channel from me? This is insanity. People, if you want me to do more reaction from this channel, comment down because I fucking love it. I love BGS games and BGS-like games like Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, Elder Scrolls. I hope he did Elder Scrolls. Man, I love it. I don't know, which surveys can he do to like, what would be helpful? I think that's the game's plot in itself. What is the helpful thing to do? Like, that's what it is. Like, should we choose NCR? Should we choose Legion? Should we choose Independence? What is the consequence of the long term? If we choose NCR, people are gonna hate it, but maybe they have security. But it's bureaucratic mess. If we choose Legion, maybe go to a psychiatrist and see why your thinking is like that. I don't know. If we choose independence, sure, but that's like pragmatic, and I don't know. Is that gonna work? Is that gonna last? Is that enough? I don't know. Which is in the new TV show is gonna show. Like I'm guessing Mark II robots are there. Then there is an implication that maybe Mr. House or Independence route. That's what was the canon. Who the fuck knows? But yeah. Right, well, if you like my next one, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.